what if the story of our origins is incomplete? What if, hidden in the shadows of prehistory, there was another kind of human, one that stood between Neanderthals and us, shaping our destiny yet leaving behind almost nothing but whispers in the soil and fragments in our blood? For decades, textbooks told us a simple tale. Homo sapiens, the modern human, arose in Africa, journeyed outward, and eventually replaced our ancient cousins, the Neanderthals. A straightforward march of progress. But real archaeology, real human evolution, is never so tidy. Beneath the ice and in the dark chambers of caves, evidence emerges that tells us otherwise. Strange bones that don't quite fit, DNA sequences that point to unions with someone unknown, a ghost species. Human, but not Neanderthal and not us. Imagine walking into a Paleolithic forest 50,000 years ago. You might encounter the stocky frame of a Neanderthal, their eyes sharp and wary, their tools of stone glinting in the firelight. But then you glimpse another figure, taller but not fully like you, more delicate than a Neanderthal, yet not quite Homo sapiens. Who were they? And why did they vanish, leaving only echoes behind? Scientists have given them names like ghost populations or archaic hybrids. They haunt our DNA, living on inside us though their bones are scarce. Fossils from Denisova Cave in Siberia, fragments in Spain and France, all hint that Neanderthals and humans were not alone in their Ice Age world. There were others. In this video, we will follow the clues left behind by ancient genomes and broken skeletons. We will trace the hidden pathways of interbreeding, explore caves where archaeologists uncovered unsettling evidence, and confront the possibility that our very survival as modern humans depended not only on competition, but also on connection with these forgotten people. Prepare yourself for a journey into deep prehistory, a journey that reveals not just who Neanderthals were or who we are, but who walked with us, unseen, in the twilight of human evolution. To begin this journey, we must step into the world of archaeology and genetics, fields that have, in recent decades, revolutionized our understanding of human evolution. For much of the 20th century, the story seemed simple. Neanderthals in Europe, Homo sapiens in Africa, and eventually, we, the modern humans, expanded and replaced everyone else. But then came the discoveries that shattered this tidy narrative. In 2010, deep in the Altai Mountains of Siberia, Russian archaeologists uncovered a tiny fragment of bone in Denisova Cave. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, merely a child's finger bone, worn smooth by the passage of tens of thousands of years. But when scientists extracted DNA from this fragment, they were stunned. It did not belong to Neanderthals nor to Homo sapiens. It belonged to a new kind of human, one entirely unknown to science. They named them the Denisovans. This single fragment opened a door to a hidden world. Suddenly, what had been invisible became undeniable. The genomes of people living today, from Tibet to Melanesia, carried Denisovan DNA, a genetic legacy from ancient interbreeding. That meant our ancestors met them, lived alongside them, and even had children together. The Denisovans were not some distant cousin, they were part of our story. But Denisova Cave was not the only source of mysteries. In Atapuerca, Spain, fossils dating back 400,000 years revealed traits that were not fully Neanderthal, but not fully anything else. In France, unusual skulls with hybrid features suggested the mixing of populations long before modern humans arrived. And in caves across Europe, genetic testing revealed startling clues. Even Neanderthals themselves carried traces of unknown ancestors, species that had lived and bred with them only to vanish. The deeper we look into the archaeological record, the more tangled the web becomes. Far from a single line of progression, human evolution appears more like a braided river, with channels diverging, rejoining, and sometimes disappearing into the sands of time. This complexity raises profound questions. Who were these mysterious intermediaries, these species between Neanderthals and us? Were they hybrids of different populations? Were they entirely separate lineages, lost to extinction? And most hauntingly of all, how many of them still live inside us, not in flesh, but in fragments of DNA, quietly shaping our biology today? The discoveries from Denisova Cave and other sites remind us that our past is not a simple march from primitive to advanced. It's a mosaic, a tapestry woven from encounters, migrations, and exchanges we are only beginning to decipher. And at the heart of this puzzle lies the mysterious species that connected us to Neanderthals, walking with us in the Ice Age, shaping who we would become.
Picture Europe during the Ice Age. The land is dominated by glaciers, forests, and windswept plains where mammoths roamed and cave bears prowled. It is here that multiple species of humans cross paths: Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, and others whose names we only now begin to whisper. To understand the mysterious species between Neanderthals and us, we must walk among these landscapes and imagine the lives of those who left little more than shadows behind. Let us start with the Denisovans, because their story is the clearest example of just how strange human evolution truly was. From a tiny bone and a few teeth, scientists pieced together a lineage that may have stretched across Asia. The Denisovans were not Neanderthals, yet they shared a common ancestor with them. Their DNA reveals that they adapted to high altitudes. Modern Tibetans, for instance, inherited a gene from Denisovans that allows them to survive with less oxygen. Think about that. A fragment of an extinct species still shapes how millions of people live today in the roof of the world. But Denisovans are not the only candidates for the species between. Fossils in Europe suggest humans who were neither Neanderthal nor fully modern. In France, the child known as the Lagar-Velho boy, buried 24,000 years ago, shows skeletal traits that seem to blend both modern human and Neanderthal features. Was he evidence of a hybrid population, or simply variation within our species? Debate rages on. The evidence is not only in bones, but also in blood. Modern genetic studies show that every non-African human alive today carries Neanderthal DNA, between 1% and 2%, but some populations in Asia and Oceania carry even more, traces that come not from Neanderthals but from another archaic group. This suggests repeated encounters, not isolated events. Humanity's past was not a story of replacement alone, but of meeting, mingling, and merging. Imagine a tribe of Homo sapiens migrating out of Africa 50,000 years ago. They enter a cold European valley where Neanderthals have hunted for generations. Around the firelight, two worlds meet. They exchange gestures, perhaps even words. Fear gives way to curiosity, and eventually their children embody both lineages, a bridge between two kinds of human. This is not speculation. This is written into our DNA. We are the descendants of unions that blurred the lines between species. Archaeologists find traces of these meetings in tools as well. Some stone blades in Europe appear long before Homo sapiens were thought to arrive. Did Neanderthals invent them on their own, or did they learn them from hybrids who had knowledge from elsewhere? Each tool, each carved object is a fragment of dialogue across species. The mysterious species between Neanderthals and us may not have been a single group, but rather a spectrum of interactions, hybrids, ghost lineages, populations that rose and fell in the shifting climate of the Ice Age. What matters is this: human evolution was not a ladder, but a web. And somewhere in that web are the forgotten threads connecting us to cousins whose names are lost, but whose presence endures in our bodies, our tools, and perhaps even our instincts. They hunted mammoths beside us. They weathered winters in caves we later rediscovered. They vanished, but they did not disappear. They live on, silently, in the very code of who we are. If Part 1 revealed how the mysterious species might have lived beside us, Part 2 takes us into the realm of controversy, where archaeology and genetics collide with theories that spark debate even among the world's leading scientists. For every fossil fragment and DNA strand, there are multiple interpretations. Take the Denisovans. We know them from a finger bone, a jawbone found on the Tibetan plateau, and a handful of teeth. Yet their genetic imprint stretches from Siberia to Melanesia. How can so few fossils account for such a vast presence? Some scientists argue that Denisovans weren't a single people at all, but a collection of populations. Archaic humans spread across Asia, diverse, perhaps even more varied than Neanderthals themselves. Others push back, insisting the evidence is too thin, the conclusions too bold. And what of the so-called hybrids? The Lagar-Velho child in Portugal remains a focal point of fierce argument. To some, his skeleton is clear evidence of interbreeding between modern humans and Neanderthals. To others, the traits are easily explained by normal variation. The problem is that bones weather, deform, and mislead. Without DNA, we are left to interpret shadows on the wall of a very old cave. Even DNA, however, does not solve every riddle. In 2018, scientists announced the discovery of a girl known only as Denisova 11. She lived about 90,000 years ago, and her genome revealed something astonishing. She was the child of a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father, a first-generation hybrid. This single discovery proved that interbreeding wasn't rare or accidental. It was part of the human story. But how common was it? Were entire communities composed of mixed populations? Or were these unions isolated, fragile connections across otherwise separate worlds? The truth remains elusive. Adding to the mystery are genetic signals that don't match any known species. Hidden in our genomes are traces of lineages we cannot name, archaic humans for whom we have no bones, no artifacts, only ghostly footprints in our DNA. These ghost populations hint that the species between Neanderthals and us may not have been one or two groups, but many, entire peoples lost without a trace, yet still whispering within us. The debates grow sharper when we ask why they disappeared. Some argue climate was the decisive factor, harsh swings of the Ice Age driving weaker populations to extinction. Others believe Homo sapiens simply outcompeted them with sharper tools, wider networks, and symbolic culture that gave us an edge. But what if the line between survival and extinction was thinner than we think? What if these mysterious species didn't vanish, but instead became part of us, absorbed into the expanding tide of humanity? In that sense, they did not lose. They became immortal, carried within billions alive today. And yet, uncertainty persists. Some researchers caution against over-romanticizing the past. They warn that every bone fragment is a puzzle piece, and forcing them into a picture too soon risks distorting the truth. But others embrace the mystery, reminding us that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. What is clear is this: the more we uncover, the less human evolution looks like a straight road. Instead, it appears as a labyrinth of crossings, encounters, and vanishings. And somewhere in that labyrinth, the mysterious species between Neanderthals and us still waits to be recognized. They may never have had a name. They may never have built monuments or left grand art on cave walls, but their legacy runs deeper. They shaped us, body and mind, in ways we are still struggling to understand.
Why should we care about these shadowy ancestors, these mysterious species who walked between Neanderthals and us? After all, they are gone, their bones scarce, their names unknown. Yet, in their absence, they still shape our lives in profound ways. To look back at them is not simply to study archaeology. It is to look in a mirror that shows us both who we were and who we might become. First, there are the physical lessons. Denisovan DNA gave Tibetans the ability to thrive in the thin air of high mountains.
Neanderthal genes contribute to our immune systems, protecting us from ancient pathogens. Even today, in the age of skyscrapers and satellites, we carry the survival strategies of people long extinct. Every breath at high altitude, every immune response to disease, is a reminder that we are not alone. We are the sum of many lineages. But beyond biology, there are deeper lessons. Human evolution was not a story of isolation. It was a story of connection. Modern humans did not rise in a vacuum. We rose in a world shared with others. We met them, learned from them, and sometimes became them. Our ancestors were not purists, guarding their bloodlines. They were survivors, willing to cross boundaries, to merge, to adapt. That adaptability may be the greatest inheritance of all. Reflect on this. In an Ice Age cave, a Neanderthal woman and a Denisovan man shared their lives long enough to raise a daughter. That child, Denisova 11, embodies something larger than herself. She is proof that walls between groups were never absolute, that even in prehistory, human beings reached across divides. In a time of survival and scarcity, they chose connection. Is there not a lesson here for us, in an age where divisions still threaten our future? Archaeology teaches us humility. We are not the pinnacle of history, but part of a vast, tangled web. Countless species of humans once walked the earth, and only one remains. Their disappearance warns us how fragile survival can be. Climate change, competition, disease, these forces ended entire lineages. We too are vulnerable. And yet, their persistence within us, in DNA and in echoes of culture, shows that survival is not always about strength, but about sharing, adapting, and enduring together. On a more personal level, these discoveries invite us to reconsider identity. What does it mean to be human? Is it the shape of our skull, our genetic code, our ability to create art and symbols? Or is it something less tangible? The will to connect, to tell stories, to remember those who came before. The mysterious species between Neanderthals and us challenge us to expand our definition of humanity, to embrace complexity rather than erase it. And so, when we look to the past, we are also looking forward. If our survival was forged in connection, perhaps our future will be secured in the same way, not by isolation or dominance, but by integration, cooperation, and resilience. The prehistoric world whispers to us still, "You are many, you are one, and you endure because you carry the forgotten within you."
The deeper we look into the past, the clearer it becomes. Human evolution is not a straight line, but a web of encounters, connections, and disappearances. Between Neanderthals and us, there were others, Denisovans, hybrids, and ghost populations we may never name. They are gone in body, but not in spirit. Their legacy lives within our DNA, in the resilience of our immune system, in the way we adapt to harsh environments, and perhaps even in the spark of curiosity that drives us to seek them now. We began with a question: who were the mysterious species that walked between Neanderthals and us? The truth is both humbling and profound. They were our cousins, our companions, sometimes our rivals, and often our family. They remind us that survival was not about isolation, but about connection. That the human story has always been shared, woven together from many threads. So what lessons can we carry into the present? That adaptability is our inheritance, that division is never absolute, that in times of crisis, whether Ice Age winters or modern challenges, our strength lies in cooperation, in remembering that we are more than just ourselves. We are the sum of forgotten origins. And now the mystery passes to you. What do you think? Were these species simply stepping stones toward us, or do they deserve to be remembered as humans in their own right, lost civilizations of flesh and bone, erased by time but not by memory? If this journey into deep prehistory has stirred your imagination, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again as we uncover more of the secrets that lie buried in the shadows of time. Humanity's story is far from over,
and together we will continue to search for the forgotten origins of who we are.